for any losses you may accrue for having weak hands. Where the haters at? Y'all bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got Hex, flawless uptime. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart. It's lullaby music, really, right? It's hard to believe that something like this exists. I get it, but you just gotta come to terms with reality. It just exists. Nothing we can do about it. Buy a steak and chill, baby. Shout out to Marketable Thoughts. You can't get this kind of shit for free anywhere else. It's very important to understand that. We're handing it out. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart. So much luck, once again, because the facts don't give a fuck. This is Whales Only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there, so don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're gonna pay the consequences for that, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody, literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done. Boom. Oh, it's about to get funky. Funkier than you could have ever imagined. You know, Richard Hart is a boss. Hex is literally the best thing on the planet. It's simple mathematics. What's good, fam? Let's do a sound check real quick and make sure y'all guys can hear me. Let me get anything to confirm that in the chat. Yay, nay, go to hey, yada yada. Hope everybody's been good. Thank you, sir, for the thumbs up. So we'll keep it moving. Hope everybody's been doing good, man. I know at this point in my life, I've climbed my Mount Everest. So not what this stream is about at all, actually, but needless to say, I'm a happy camper about where I sit in my life, personally speaking. I hope you guys are out there doing what you want to do and not what you're told to do, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. You got to do you. And when you got an idea, my God, at least write that shit down somewhere, because you really don't know what the fuck you got. And that's a lesson that I just recently learned. I mean, you know, people talk about mental greats, Einstein, Isaac Newton, yada yada. I mean, they make movies about the shit that I accomplished a couple weeks ago, and nobody's ever gonna know, because fuck y'all. Well, not you guys specifically, but the broader population. I mean, Jim Simons couldn't figure this out. God bless the dead. I mean, I'll show y'all, but that's all you're gonna get, just so you guys get an idea. But yeah, man, life is good. Life is good as you want it to be. You know, if you pay attention to what you care about and not what society forces you to care about, life takes some amazing turns. And the whole thing about that is, you know, nobody wants a crappy existence. You know, I don't care if you're a billionaire with a bunch of stupid billionaire problems, or a poor person, and by poor I mean a working person. with with consistent financial issues. Because at the end of the day, everybody just wants peace of mind. And money doesn't guarantee that in some instances. And in many instances, depending on who you are, it brings more issues to the table than you had previous. Because if you don't understand money, you literally create those problems. And you don't even know you're doing that. But that's what you're doing. Because you don't have a plan, you're not being disciplined, you're just frivolously blowing it away. And that's where the problems come from. And there's nothing you can do about it until you learn what it is that you are doing and why you are doing it, right? So, as a general example, when you keep running into the same issue over and over, and I'm pretty sure people know this in general. I mean, I didn't, but I was raised by the wolves or whatever. So when you keep running into the same issue in the universe, that's the universe telling you that you're not learning your lesson. Literally, you know, there's no other interpretation of that. That is the only interpretation that's possible. So what does that tell you as the individual that keeps making that consistent error? That tells you that you need to change what you're doing, plain and simple. And that's the hard part. I don't know what it is that tells humans that they shouldn't partake in making themselves greater. And in all honesty, when you look at the fake crypto industry, that's all that is. A bunch of people lying to themselves about what they are and what they're doing. Not a coincidence. I've been calling it out since day one. And what do we see now? All we see is a sea of shit. And I called this out in 2021. So no surprise. Three years later, people just don't know how to help themselves. That's honestly what the problem is. I mean, this comment right here is a perfect example, right? And I don't know who this guy is, no disrespect, but it's a fact. Hex on paper is amazing, but the sad truth in reality, I feel I drank the Kool-Aid on the expectations of Hex, Pulse, and Pulsex. Think about that comment for a second. Drank the Kool-Aid on the expectations. Now, I had an interesting conversation today, or this is a snippet of it, where the point was made that people learn language in context. And in many ways, yes, this is true. However, that's why people be wrong as fuck all the time. Because people don't do their research. That's why nobody bought Bitcoin in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's why nobody bought Bitcoin for 7 years. Because on paper, Bitcoin is amazing, but the sad truth and reality is you felt you drank the Kool-Aid on the expectations of Bitcoin. I mean, you clearly don't understand what crypto is, and that's all that statement proves. Because there are no expectations. Period. This is why I don't even bother talking about crypto anymore. It's pointless. Entirely a waste of motherfucking time. Because people want to talk about shit wrong. They don't want to understand what's going on. They want to just interpret things incorrectly and operate off of that as if they're correct. Which, hey, no problem. Whatever you like. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you like. But at the end of the day, if you can read what the fuck is going on in the world. Crypto is a very specific tool. It's not a market. I've explained this umpteen times. The fact of the matter is that it's a way to store value. It's a way to exchange value. It's a medium of exchange. All these basic things that you think about when you think of money. Now, how does Hex do that? You might be asking, because you're probably just looking at the dollar price, not understanding that that's the wrong point of view. And I mean, hey, this has been explained a bazillion times. In 2024, I got to say, you're officially late because I'm not breaking it down like it's 2020, 2021, or 2022. You can read the abstract of the Bitcoin white paper and figure it out from there because that's what I did. You're welcome. Because at the end of the day, people are going to make their own choices based on misinformation given to them by others. Instead of listening to one schmuck that actually knows what actually is stated on the abstract of the Bitcoin white paper and only regurgitates that. Or a couple schmucks. There's a few of us out here. I mean, this is easy. This is the easiest game. This is going to be the easiest million, 2 million, quadrillion X in fucking history. Because people are just fucking stupid. And it's honestly because they choose to be. I literally woke up one day and decided to stop being stupid. That's the only difference between me and most other motherfuckers. Period. The title of my stream says it all. You must read. If you think only watching YouTube videos is going to solve your life, you got problems. Because it ain't. I mean, for God's sakes, I literally sat with the Holy Grail in my head for over a decade at this point, and I just never bothered to try. Literally. People out here wasting time with AI and money, not understanding the power that they hold. Shit's funny. It's very, very funny. And hey, while people are complaining about what they don't understand today instead of preparing for tomorrow, those of us that understand how to do the math will buy Hex, stake it, will buy Pulse Chain, will buy PulseX, will buy Ink, and will throw those bad boys in the farm as they see fit. I've never stopped doing that. So I don't know what the hell people are complaining about in terms of money and Pulse Chain and all of that. I really don't know. It's been a whole year and 2 months. I don't know what people are doing. Maybe if you stop chasing shit coins, you'd make some money. Maybe. It's just a thought. Something to think about. Something to consider. I mean, I've only been saying this since I started streaming. I don't know how else to say it. Oh, you're mad the price of Hex, Pulse Chain, and Pulse X is down? Oh, you're mad because a bunch of dummies are selling their coins? Oh, that's sad. Guess what? All that means is that you don't understand if you're mad. And you're not here for the big game. You're not here for the Grand Slam. And that's all right. You want the quickie. That's cool. But, those of us that rock like me, we're not here for the quickie. I mean, this is why we stake 15 years. Once I wrapped my head around the language, it was a no-brainer because duh. I mean, I literally have a job, right? Because I decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to work and shit after Pulse Chain came out, and uh, people are getting smarter out there. And by people, I mean the general population, because I do not consider myself a part of that shit. And let me tell you guys what. I'm out here sitting through, the same training we all sit through, all this mandatory training on how to be a human, quote unquote, is how I like to put it. And motherfuckers is getting smart and saying, hey, why do we keep getting this stupid ass training instead of motherfuckers getting held accountable? Whoop, whoop, they didn't expect that one. Oh shit. So people are waking up, you know, little by little. It's all unraveling because stupidity can only permeate but for so long. It ultimately must die out because it's stupid, right? It's like animals that don't eat McDonald's and shit. They know not to eat that shit because they're not fucking stupid. But humans are not that smart because we're emotional beings. And if somebody is able to get into your head and find that switch, find that button, and get you to act not in accordance with your best interests, meme coin, shit coin kings, but guess what? Your life is going to suck. Pretty basic stuff. That's why when you follow trends and you react, not when you should, but when you feel that you must, that is literally the end of that move. Doesn't matter whether we're talking short or long. That simple. That's what's happening right there. You've reached the point where you can no longer watch that price go in any direction. I'm not going to call up or down, just pick one. And you press sell or buy. And guess what you just did? You became the last motherfucker to get on the ride. And it happens to everybody. Like, that's why I'm laughing, because it happened to me many a times. It happens fucking all the time. And I've been doing this for 15, 16 years almost. And I'm counting the time where I had no clue what the hell I was doing. Because, I really think back to that time a lot. I mean, there was a time where I took 800 bones, man. And this is when 800 was a lot of money. This is like 2007, maybe 2000. Yeah, it had to be 2007. I really didn't know what the hell I was doing. Maybe early 2008. I don't know. Point is, somehow I knew I could open up an FX account. I can't even fathom how I learned this. I just can't remember. And man, I blew that shit in, like, I don't know, one night. It didn't last long. I didn't know what I was doing, but that was the point. Right? That's how it all started. And it's ended in greatness. Because I'm a persistent, determined individual. I don't have time for no's and maybes, and this is what people don't understand about me. This is why I no longer have to convince anybody of anything. I don't have to explain anything. I don't have to do a damn thing. It's all on record. It's 2024. Crypto is fucking 15 years old solidly. People do not understand technology still. People don't learn how to use the internet still. People don't do what they need to do in order to find success. You can't help somebody that's not willing to work for themselves. Doesn't matter what excuse they have. You're just wasting time. And time is the most valuable commodity we have. Ergo, Hex. I mean, I don't know if people are alive when they write dumb shit like, "Oh, Hex is a disappointment," blah 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 blah. Like, you motherfuckers are clearly not outside shopping. You don't buy nothing. You fucking live off of air and don't wear clothes. Like, yeah, I really try to be respectful, but people just, I don't know, man. I really just don't fucking know sometimes about you motherfuckers. Like, I don't believe I'm really a fucking human being. I must be something else because my brain just don't fucking work like y'all. It don't. I mean, it's clearly obvious that money is fake and the shit does what you call money, right? Not it's not money, but you call it money. You think it's money even though it's not. And no matter where you live, it's the same. What where are we going? Seriously. Where are we going? Where people think that they can just exist and find success without putting forth any effort in any facet of their lives, because that's what I had to learn. I had to learn that just being disciplined in one area does not necessarily lead to success in others. You must be disciplined in all areas in order to find success in whatever you want. Because if you're not being disciplined in that thing you want success in, then there is no success. Simple. So you want to get rich quickly. Crypto is not the place to do it. I've been telling people that since I started. Crypto is a long-term investment where a freaking retirement is a guarantee if you pick the right crypto. Look around. It's evident. So you don't got to take my word for it. You should look around. And that's the thing. If you're paying attention to what's going on outside, turn your head left or right. If you can't see shit in front of you, you'll see very clearly that everybody's getting beaten down by big daddy inflation. And guess what? There is no controlling it because it has started and it ain't stopping because it's a annually delayed process, meaning that it's not, oh, the money's here, inflation. Oh, no. That shit gotta go out through the system. And then when all that shit is out in the system, is when prices will stop rising. And guess what? It's only 2024. And I don't know if you know, but they printed 40% of all the existing units of money at that time, meaning there was a 40% increase in the freaking monetary supply per the system, right? Because clearly it's not like a physical thing that's floating around. And that's what makes it hard for people to grasp. We're really never going to see bales of money like in Weimar, but you're sure as fuck not going to be eating like they were in Weimar. You can bet your bottom dollar on that shit because I done fucking told you. Years ago it was coming. It is what it is. All that shit I've been talking about coming down the hatch. Even the whole presidential situation. All of it. So you go on ahead and sell your Hex. Sell your Pulse Chain. Sell your Pulse X. And for fucking sure, sell that ink. We want it all. So sell it all. Don't cry to me about it. I don't give a flying fuck. Don't care. Just keeping it real. Don't care. So do yourself a favor. Leave the anguish at the door and just sell the shit. Sell whatever you got. Be another statistic. Like all the dumb motherfuckers, including myself, that sold their Bitcoin early. And that's the point. That's why I can talk like this. I don't need to give a fuck what you think, because what you think don't matter. You don't actually know anything. That's why you think what you think. That's the catch. That's why you always got to self check yourself. That's how I became smarter. That's why people come and listen to me, even though I don't think I'm anything special, because I just share what's true. And what's true is what I got to say. That's why I have a track record that's impeccable. I don't gotta break it down. Anybody that's watching can break it down. And that's exactly why when I say you should go learn about something, you probably should go learn about something, because you're gonna learn something. Not about me. It's never about me. When I talk about me, is to make a point that I do know what I'm telling you to research. And if I'm suggesting you research it, it's probably to your benefit, because I already know the material. I don't need to research it. I already did the research. See how that works? Because at the end of the day, how does your life improve by watching a YouTube video if you don't actually put forth any effort before or after? I don't know. But when I watch YouTube videos, it's in the vein of exercising what I'm learning. I mean, this is how I became the guy you're watching today. Literally. I used to watch so many people back in the day. I mean, I couldn't fucking stop. I used to have the craziest fucking sleeping schedule because I just couldn't stop learning. I would sleep from like 9 to 2 or some crazy shit like that, or like 10 to 3, and just wake up and take like a mini nap in the middle of the day and just fucking go to sleep at 10 again and wake up at 3 again, just so I could have all this time where motherfuckers were not bothering me, so I can read all the shit I wanted to read without interruption. Like, I made it fucking happen, yo. I don't want to hear these goddamn motherfucking excuses about I got shit to do. So the fuck what? I had shit to do too. But you're never gonna hear me fucking talk about what I had to do, because I just fucking did it. The fuck? Shit's crazy, man. Like, I don't understand why I gotta explain the shit. I worked in fucking Afghanistan. If niggas want to know, right? While I the most, but the time I spent the most time learning, doing my self learning, where I really put the pedal to the metal and really started my process to get to this point where I could just do whatever. I could be a fucking chemist now if I want. But at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Having the ability to put yourself at the same level as any individual that's out there. Because guess what? You can. But if you don't want to, you're not gonna. And it's that simple. It's really that simple. Plain and simple. Again, look at all these people that sold their Bitcoin early. What was their mind frame? What were they thinking? How are they feeling now? You really need to seriously think about that when you're just talking about crypto. If you're serious about generational wealth, because crypto generates that. And if you think Hex isn't going to be one of those, you're out your mind. You don't understand what's going on. You don't have a clue. You don't know who Bloxworks is. You don't know what's the name of these people? Hold on. It literally just skipped my mind. You don't know what RWA.XYZ is. Like, there's a lot of things going on that you have no clue, because you're not being told about all these losers that are supposed to be the face of crypto. And I'm saying that shit in quotes. Like, we live in a world where, quote unquote, regulators, meaning agencies of the government that impose rule and order on people, They're the ones that are supposed to be setting the example. That is not what we see at all. And what do we get? Excuses, and we accept them. But guess what? Let you fuck around and drop $5 and not fucking tell somebody, and they find out. Why do we live? Why do we think that's okay? I don't know. I'm not okay with that shit at all. I'm not okay with not being accountable. Whenever I fucked up, I owned up to that shit. If I got caught, of course. If not, no face, no case, nigga. Simple. But whenever I did get caught slipping and I got put in check, of course not when it was pigs, I said, yeah, it was me. Whatever. It ain't the end of the world. Who cares? But we take things so serious that we can't even wrap our heads around the fact that maybe this is just a moment to learn something. That's not how it works. Nothing works like that in our society, in our world, in our existence. Nothing works like that. Everything has a financial cost. Everything existing is fucking expensive. And that's how you know it's a scam. How the fuck it costs to live? Like, think about that. You just exist. Everything just exists. Why does it cost to exist? It don't cost a tree no money to exist, but it costs you. It don't cost that dog. It don't cost that bird, but it costs you. Why you and not everything else? How come there's no monetary system anywhere else? What makes us so different? We're just other biological organisms that exist in this ecosystem. What's the necessity for money when all we're supposed to be doing is taking raw goods and processing them? What the fuck else we got to do? What is the point of money? People still got to eat. Somebody's still gonna want to grow the shit. Somebody gonna want to raise the meat and feed the meat and cut the meat up. These are things to really sit back and think about. What's going on? Pose those questions to your believers, because I know y'all know you got to know a few. They're out there. And shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Appreciate you guys checking in. Alan, thank you for the fire, brother. Wealth is the product of a man's capacity to think. All those red candles show us how incapable of thinking motherfuckers are. And yes, sir, you nailed it. I really, I really didn't expect it to be this bad, but man, it's bad. It's bad. And the thing you got to understand is this race isn't even really a race. You really are racing yourself, because if you don't make the right decisions, you're the one that's going to suffer, not the next man. The next man is going to suffer his own consequences, not yours. Y'all go ahead and hit that like button. And I really hope what I'm saying makes sense, because math doesn't give a shit. It really doesn't. You really got to think about that. There's a lot of things that are obvious and people like to act like they're not. Yep. If nothing, I'm consistent. I've never wavered in anything. I don't got time for that. And the funny thing about it is anybody else will tell you, yeah, he has, blah, 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 but they won't be able to find no proof of that. Hey, congrats, Crypto King. Gonna be a grandpa. Congrats, homie. But yeah, these are things to think about. A lot of these things are very basic in thought. I mean, we pay all this money for all these goods and services, and they don't last anymore. Like, what are we paying for? One of the first economic facts I learned is that over time, goods and services are supposed to become cheaper because of technology. And while that's true for some, it's not true for all. Now, let me break that down. Like I've told you guys many times before, a lot of a lot of how money is made is determined by a lot of the money you make is determined by where you sit with respect to the flow of money. And if you're not putting yourself in a position to get it, i.e., a lake where there's a lot of fish, a market where there's a lot of opportunity for you with respect to whatever your interest is, right? Like if you're a YouTuber that gets down, for example, because I'm not that type, I'm not looking to hit millions of views and stuff like that. But if you're the type that's capable of doing all the things to make that happen, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you put your best foot forward to make that happen? Right? I mean, I don't think that people that are into entertainment aren't trying to do that. They just have to find their formula to attract the attention that they can cater to. You know what I mean? And that is hard for people to wrap their head around. They think they have to do what others are doing, and that's just not the case. That's why the most successful people in a lot of cases, and I'm not talking about those that are typed to sell their soul, but actual really successful people, they're unique in what they do. Doesn't matter what genre we're talking about. If that person is a public individual and they want to be well known, they will be. That is something that, we see it all the time. Never fails. So, you know, fact of the matter is that when you're out there, you got to be careful with those that are very popular, and you got to watch those that are unpopular just as much as those that are popular, because those unpopular folks, they're like me in most cases. They know a ton of shit that nobody's going to want to know, but you're going to wish you knew when the time comes, which is what makes it valuable. It's like gold. Gold costs you nothing today. That's why you can afford it, because it's for tomorrow. You're welcome. Let's see. The global collapse does not have to start in the USA. 40 banks just collapsed in China. The dominoes going to fall across the globe. You know what's funny? It's kind of like what I talked about before. I don't know if you guys are going to remember, but I've said this numerous times before, and we're already seeing this. I don't think we're going to see a collapse in the sense that, like what we saw in 2008. I think it's just going to be an economic collapse in the sense that everybody's just going to be tapped out. Like, people are tapped out already. Yeah, do not. If I explained this a long time ago, um, you know, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, right? We don't know exactly how they're going to try to transition people over or crash things to make people use CBDCs or whatever. But we know that's what they're going to try to do. Um, and look, as I've told you guys before, I'm not a Trump believer. Like, I don't believe in politics. This shit's all manipulation. You're a fool if you think somebody's going to save you. Ain't nobody going to fucking save you. That's why crypto's so critical, because eventually people are going to have to learn the truth. And if you're smart, you're already going to be holding a big ass bag. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I don't know what else to tell you, but that's what it is. Don't play yourself, because at the end of the day, I don't know if you know, but they're coming, and when they come, they're gonna try to bring their own shit, but that shit ain't gonna work. So they're gonna be on the side buying the other shit, but they gotta fake you out first, right? Because they're not just gonna announce and create a stampede. That's dumb. And that's what people are waiting for. And that's never going to happen. Just how it goes. So learn some math and, you know, do yourself the favor. I'll share some work in a little bit here just because it's interesting. But whatever it is you're into and you really, really like and you really, really think you got something, work on it, man. Don't fucking lie to yourself or don't neglect yourself. I mean, I did it for years. Don't. Just don't. Cause man, this is a fact right here. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent would not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb, and this statement is true. It is so true. Well, you want to have physical cash because you don't know what's gonna happen, right? So the question is, if I shouldn't have cash in the bank, what's the alternative? And the alternative, honestly, is having physical cash, physical gold and silver in very divisible bits, grams if possible, because you just don't know what's going to happen. And then on top of that, you want to have, and this is if you live in an environment where you can have this type of stuff, you want to have petroleum products, period, as much as you can store. You want to have meat full of freezer, or freezer full of meat. I mean, just basic stuff, store of rice, a bin full of beans, just very basic stuff. You want to store your vegetables in a way where they won't rot. Just basic stuff, because you don't even know if money's going to be any good. You might have to be barter system because everybody might not be prepared and might not be able to. And this is a continuation of the previous part of this quote. Thanks, Wesley Whips. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan "Press On" has solved and will always solve the problems of the human race. Calvin Coolidge. Yeah, it really is true. If I've learned nothing else from our other brothers and sisters, is that all the ones that find that success, whether it's in any, doesn't matter the field. I mean, look at RH. He's a prime example. He just does what makes sense. It doesn't really do more than that. Um, I don't have any consultancy, brother. I'm not doing none of that. I'm not selling my services or nothing like that. I don't have anything to sell. Um, but yeah, it's uh it's wild out here. When people ask about stable coins, I tell people be mindful of the fact that those things got keys. So, the gamble is really on you. Um, but you need to understand what you're dealing with, right? That's ultimately what it boils down to. You need to understand what you're dealing with if you're dealing with stable coins. Right now it's perfectly fine. But one day it might not be. Be prepared for that day. Because, clearly people are using them. But they have control features, right? And it's just like doing the opposite of what I have on the bottom of my screen, right? So something to think about. Something to think about. Yeah, nah, man, I'm not doing no more crypto stuff. It's sad to say, but I just can't rock with that. It's nah. It's not my level of content. I tried to step it up, but people just want to be told what to do, so they can get that from anywhere else. I don't need that from me. So it's all good. I'm good. I'm not trying to be dollar cost and none of them niggas. I'm good. I like my life as is. Anyways, eh, Do the basic work. The basic work is what's going to guarantee you get the right answer. You know, don't get, oh, my bad, muted myself there. Don't get overstimulated with nonsense. Uh, keep the YouTube channels to a minimum with respect to crypto. Unless you're trying to like find new coins to trade or whatever, like you shouldn't really be watching a lot of crypto content, if any. You should just be reading the basic stuff because that's really all you need to know. That's why, you really don't need to be running around searching for crypto. You're going to see the right crypto at the right time. Never fails. It's never failed me. All the cryptos that I missed, that's exactly what happened. I found them at the right time and I just never took action or sold too early. That's why with Hex, I've always been talking about 15 years. Ain't nothing else to do. You a fool if you do otherwise. And that's just what it boils down to, man. So, like I detailed a long time ago. I don't know if you guys are gonna remember, but I told you guys that we would see the market probably head higher if it didn't just crack because of the money flow. And that's basically what we've been seeing. So the question then becomes, will we ever see a crack? And I think the answer is not unless they really want to shut it down, right? Because think about it. Why, if they intend to tokenize everything, which is their goal, how will they go about that? Right? That's the question. Are they going to literally transfer the value from one system to another, which doesn't make sense, but doesn't mean it can't happen? Or are they just going to duplicate everything? I don't know. I would not assume a duplication, though, which is why I say get your crypto now. It's like knowing a problem that's going to become one before time and not buying the solution before everybody else figures it out. I just don't understand. Why would you not want it? I don't know. But, get it. Cuz there's no going back. There's no going back. Once they flip that switch, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to happen. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to be outside that system. Cuz what if that then ends up being the only way to maneuver? Then what? I mean, you're going to be mad. Cuz yo, you see the stream meme. I don't got to repeat it. Don't gotta repeat it. Let's look at what this dollar is doing. Let's look at a little bit of macro real quick, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. Everything from a political perspective is panning out. We don't even need to go in the headlines. It's just panning out, um, and that's just what it is. It's crazy, but man, I don't even know what to make of it. But things are happening, and they're happening at lightning speed. And that's what you got to know. Those are things you got to pay attention to. Like we're looking at gold right now. All right. Now, if you never looked at this chart, and let me get rid of this thing here. Hold on. Where the hell did it go? If you never saw this chart, you would never know gold only makes highs. And it never really goes down except for this period of time. You would never know. But yeah, that's exactly how it works. That's exactly what's going to happen with crypto because we're moving into a digital world. Where's the guarantee you're going to be able to use this gold and silver? You really don't know. So you literally are forced to diversify, whether you want to or not. There is no one solution fits all. I'm sorry. No one size fits all solution. That just don't exist. We like to think it does, but nah. And that's what you guys got to understand, right? If you don't, most people watching probably do. You guys got to think about that. You got to always do the research. You got to always do the work. Otherwise, somebody's just selling you something. You really don't know what's going on, right? For the longest time, bonds have just been selling off, plain and simple. At this point, let's see what could be happening. I don't really know. Yeah, I didn't think so. So, what this is showing early signs of is early signs of seller exhaustion because this line down here is no longer sloping downward, it's sloping upward now. So, unless sellers step back in this area, in terms of quantity, probably no higher than 125, 122. The the sellers don't step in size, we're gonna find some problems here. And understand, we're looking at a 13-day chart. What does it look like on a 3-day basis? It looks like it's too late. It looks like the market has already decided that the sellers are done and is just gonna find a way to bottom out and keep going north. Because typically, when moving averages start going flat instead of saying staying sloped, right? Like we see here how it's a short one, so it's sloped until it's just breached. Well, the longer ones is not quite like that. The longer ones they hold the slope, and when that slope starts to flatten out, like you see around here, that's a warning sign. Same thing over here, right? You see that all of a sudden this starts flattening out, and what's happening? Well, this price is freaking reversing. So you probably want to get the F out, right? And in the same vein, when it leans too much, you gotta be cautious, right? Because you gotta understand what's going on. Because price might be too far gone, as we see here, right? This point is even lower than this other point back here in 2021, right? So these are things to be aware of. I mean, if you got that much selling happening down here, and now we're all the way up here, all these people were caught short-handed. I mean, red-handed, being short. So they're screwed, right? They got to get out for now. I don't mean sellers can't step back in, but it seems like this is an important area all the way up to 125, 126, right? You even had some support back here at 125, right? And then above that, as you guys can see, is 130s, 132. So if the market is going to reverse, that means rates are going to go down. And if you guys probably know this by now, the market is expecting Powell to finally buckle and all of that. Um, let's just go to Fed Fund. Oh no, I don't want this one. So that means that they're watching for him to, slip. And what are we on? 3 day. So the blue line is the Fed funds, right? This is going all the way back to 1982. In 1982, the rate was 15%. So we're 10% away from there. Okay. We're only 10% from the all-time high of 1981. Oh, I'm sorry, 15%, 14% to be exact. I was looking at 1982, which was actually 15. In 1981, June, it's 19%. So we're 14% away from all-time high, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's quite a bit in terms of cost. And 5%, we were just at zero. in 2020. This is why everything is becoming financially destroyed. Money is borrowed to make things happen in our economy. People do not have savings, right? Because the ability to run a business requires ridiculous sums of money on a daily basis in most instances. I mean, a restaurant, right? If a restaurant is operation, no, and they're buying actual food, odds are they're buying it somewhat within the range of when it's being served. That means constant cash flow out, right? Because they have to buy food to sell because they got to cook something. And that's really simply what's going on. No more, no less. So that's what you guys got to think about when you're looking at the economy and trying to wrap your head around about what is this change that I'm witnessing right now? Why is everything so dire? Why are all these businesses closing out of nowhere? Outside of inflation and the cost of operation going up, you got to think that some of these businesses might just be closing on purpose because it just makes no sense. How many businesses are going out of business now? But when you sit here and look at the math, I mean, in 2020, 0%, 5 basis points, 0.005%. We're now talking about 10, 100x more than what it was in 2020. So the cost of running a business, the cost of it has gone up 100x in nominal terms. And what that means is on the face of, I don't know what the real cost is, meaning taking out inflation. But in terms of getting units of paper, it's gone 100x, the cost of it. Because you got to borrow. Unless you just one of those people that is born in the money, you got to borrow. I'm sure you guys have learned by now that the real estate market is owned by institutions, which is why the prices are the same everywhere. Right? If you live in Dallas, you're paying New York prices. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But that's what happens when those regulators stay asleep at the wheel, which is what we've been seeing, because what happens is that they pick and choose what they want to regulate. They're never going to regulate their homeboys. Why the hell would they do that? They pay them. They're there for that. To not. Anyway, these are things you got to understand, folks. You got to really see who are these people that are telling you you can and can't do X, Y, Z. Think about it. I mean, let's just talk about this January 6th thing. When's the last time you went to a federal building and could just walk in freely or just be let in and not walk through a metal detector? I've never not. And I was born in 84. So what's really going on? You, the American, are being lied to your face. You can't walk into no federal building anywhere in America and just stroll on in. So definitely not in DC. And that's how obvious that lie is. But because the media continuously lies about that, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, this is accurate. The pandemic madness inflicted on small businesses is in no way spoken of in the media or even among polite company. That's right. This is going to be bad, really bad. That's right, because people do not understand. They don't want to. They don't want the truth, and that's a sad fact of the matter because it's going to hit hard regardless. Doesn't really matter what people want. And at this point, people are understanding that the Fed is going to have to do something because shit is just out of control. It's not even that it's out of whack, it's just out of control. At one point, I think the last time I streamed, we might have been down here in the 60s. Some point, I don't know, I don't remember when it was, but I know it was. I know the Fed funds was like 64 basis points negative. And we went all the way up to minus 30 basis points in May. And now we're all the way back down to 3 cuts again. This is more than 3 cuts. This is 3.5 cuts. 15 more basis points, 13 more, and we're at 4 cuts. And the fact of the matter is that this ain't gonna go back down now. If you expand the view on it, we're now about to hit this go point. That's what's about to happen because the economic reality is crazy out there. It doesn't matter the city you go to. There's very few cities that do not have homeless people just walking around or fucking junkies just walking around. That's a function of the economy and how bad it is. It's nothing else. That's something you got to understand. The economic reality that we're about to live through is not understandable by most people. They're too scared to even want to understand it because what the fuck can they really do about it? And I get that. But that's the problem. We could stop it before it even actually becomes an issue. But if we don't know and we aren't aware, well, we're just going to be manipulated into a shittier situation. And that's really the only way, right? The cullings are going to happen regardless. Never mind the NPCs. The NPCs are here to die. That's why they're NPCs. So, it's going to be real interesting what happens this election season because I don't expect one in the U.S. The Fed is going to go against whatever is for the people, whatever benefits the people, period. You can bet your bottom dollar on that because that's what their job is. I mean, goddamn, that's really it, right? And this is why, at a certain point, you got to just make hard decisions, man. Yeah, we've never had in New York. I grew up in the 80s. In New York, it wasn't like this then. 80s and 90s, it wasn't like it is now. It's ridiculous. You can't even compare it. You cannot. And that's just what it is. And I really hope one day people will just become aware of that fact because, yeah, the market's going up and all of that good stuff. But do you understand why? I mean, let's look at crude. Crude look like it's just getting ready to launch off. Every time it comes back down here, just gets bid up. So all that means is that eventually it's gonna take off because it ain't going below these prices. Long-term moving averages with short-term moving averages above. That's just how it goes. So eventually this is gonna take off and hit 100 plus again, and it's probably gonna be, if no election happens, shit's just gonna go haywire. Because why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? Gold's already at 24.20. Motherfuckers got the nerve to call it a pet rock and all this shit. They just don't understand. And that's fine. It doesn't really matter because, again, we don't know what's going to happen. Platinum, 1,000. Palladium, 972. Copper, 4.5, 4.6. I told you guys a long time ago copper was going to rip, and here we are. $5. Everything is just going to go up. It's just not rocket science. You don't got to really be a genius. Even that gas done caught some fire this year. So I go up recently. It's coming back down. Gasoline, I mean, the prices in the market don't compare to the prices in the street. So good luck with that. So in New York, it's at least a 90-cent difference. And on top of that, now the market's lagging, meaning that they're really far apart. Silver, where we at? 12-year highs. So that's what's going on there. Dollar, it looking like it's just flagging sideways. It might actually roll over. If we get into a serious economic situation where countries just start dumping the dollar, but this is still going up. I mean, this shit don't make no sense. It really doesn't. But this is what's going on, right? So it'll be real interesting because at this point, you could technically say people are just taking out dollars to buy these while they're also buying dollars to buy these, right? Because we're really just talking about recent price action. We're not really talking about the past few years, just the past year, really 6 months, right? So we're talking about all this sideways action, right? When you look at all this sideways action, what you're seeing is people trying to buy this dip because you need to buy dollars in order to buy the bond. You can't buy it with another currency. Important thing to understand. So while you see the dollar gyrating between the 106, 107 area and the 100 area, it's important to understand that people might just be getting rid of it. The people getting rid of it might not be doing it in a visible fashion, right? So the question is, are those that are getting rid of it to the point that this is in jeopardy? I don't think so. Um, right, you guys know me. I just love these random patterns, but I don't think so. I think ultimately this thing just gyrates higher. I don't think that even if we do roll over in a panic type fashion, it stays there. Because as you guys can see, yeah, it sold all the way until it couldn't be sold, and then it ripped, right? And yeah, it ripped after a big sell off, but if you got short at the wrong time, well, you paid the price, right? From 70 to 90 is not a little bit. And from there, it's really only been going up. And keep in mind, 40% was printed in addition and has been flowing out into the monetary system from 2020 on forward. And it's still moving higher. So, mathematically speaking, the values of things should be lower, but they're not. They're higher. Because when you break down the early 2000s, when everything got expensive, what happened? The value of the dollar went consistently down. It never went up until it finally broke in 2008. It's only been going up ever since. This is why I knew everything I was saying was accurate. Bitcoin went from 0 to 69,000 as the dollar went up. Things to think about. All right, I think I'm done here. It's been a pleasure talking to y'all. I'll show y'all my magnum opus, aka the Holy Grail. I mean, as you guys can see, uh, price it gets sticky at these levels, right? And I'm able to derive these levels daily, and these levels carry over through time. You can see it here. You can see it here, right? You got this 2335 going all the way out, and it tagged today. So it's just little things like that, right? Uh, just tagging all these points in time, right? And these levels are just derived mathematically. That's all I'll say about them. As you guys can see here, uh, they just work. They're spot on again today, spot on every day. And this is just one of the many markets. Uh, and the math is just is simple, and that's what's great about it. Um, I mean, it just doesn't miss, as you guys can see. It just catches everything. And Isaac Newton, Einstein, all these people tried to figure this shit out. They never could. But your boy did. Holla at your boy. Peace. This is Whales Only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there, so don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're going to pay the consequences for that, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody. Literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done. Boom. Oh, it's about to get funky. Funkier than you could have ever imagined. You know, Richard Hart is a boss. Hex is literally the best thing on the planet. It's simple mathematics.